From lashes for days with the viral Liquid Lash Extensions Mascara to lift and color from their brilliant eye brightener, Thrive Cosmetics is the go-to for amplifying everyday looks. Plus, every product is 100% vegan, cruelty-free, and made with clean, skin-loving ingredients that work with your skin. Amplify your everyday. Go to thrivecosmetics.com/shine26 for an exclusive offer of 20% off your first order. That's Thrive Cosmetics, CAUSEMETICS.com/shine26.
Over the last few years, I've walked more than 1,500 miles alone on backcountry trails, and I absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. But I've also been completely miserable at times. I've been scared. I've been injured. I've witnessed people get bit by rattlesnakes in front of me. I've seen people fall down the mountain. I've slept soaked, cold, and completely alone. And here's what surprised me most. None of it made me weaker. None of it made me not want to go back. In fact, it's driven me to want to go more, to go farther. It built resilience, the kind that leadership actually requires. So today we're talking about why leadership isn't built in comfort and why the hardest miles often create the strongest leaders. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Northbound Podcast. Today we're talking about the myth of comfortable leadership. We often talk about resilience like it's a trait, not a process. And leaders often want confidence without the discomfort, or maybe without going through the discomfort. But see, resilience doesn't come from theories. It doesn't just come from that. It comes from exposure. And so just like the trail, leadership does not care about your intentions. The trail is going to give you life regardless of intent. And leadership is all about dealing with life. And so remember that comfort never trained anyone for that climb ahead. We're talking about the trail and how it doesn't care for your feelings. That's because trails don't adjust to your mood or your fatigue or your fear. And leadership environments are exactly the same. And so the challenges are going to arrive whether you feel ready or not. And so this is where resilience comes in, because resilient leaders, they do not panic, they adapt. So when the markets shift, when people struggle, when decisions carry weight, you keep moving anyways. Pain is not failure, it's feedback. And then it's what we do next that matters the most. And I have experienced this so much. And so remember this, when it's going to be tough, leadership is tough. Remember, injury, fear, exhaustion, it doesn't mean that you are weak. It means you're doing something hard. And so when I'm out on the trail, the pain or the difficultness of it teaches pacing, it teaches preparation, awareness, and it also teaches something that we don't talk a lot about as leaders, humility. So in leadership, failure isn't about disqualification, it's information. And resilient leaders learn to adjust to that and keep moving forward. And I also want to take this time now to talk a little bit about loneliness, because that's something that I mentioned in the opening to this episode, is just the fact that I have been very lonely. In some cases, I kind of like being lonely. Not everybody does, but I do. And loneliness, this is kind of important for leaders. So I'm going to go kind of slow through this section. Loneliness builds internal strength. This may kind of seem against what Northbound stands for, which is walking together and encouraging each other, which we do. That is so important. But sometimes you do need to be lonely, or at least alone, because this is when you confront yourself. And we must confront ourselves. This is very, very, very important. So when you are alone hiking, for example, and it doesn't have to be hiking, but that's what it is for me. Solo miles force honesty. In fact, the backcountry is very, very honest. There's no applause. There's no shortcuts. There's no rescue. And you're going to learn the most of what you're made of when no one is watching. You are not immune, because you are an individual with limitations. And we teach at Northbound Christ-centered leadership. And so you are a fallen individual. And so you are not immune from making mistakes, being wrong, being a jerk, being selfish, And so sometimes you got to get lonely and confront those things and lead better and pray to God to help you through that and walk with him. The hardest leadership moments you're going to face are often very lonely situations, and God can help you in those moments. Resilient leaders stand firm without a bunch of validation, and faith and conviction matter the most here. All right, let's talk about how resilience compounds. Every hard mile you make makes the next one easier, more possible. You didn't avoid the suffering before, you just survived it. And the confidence that you now have came from the evidence of that. And that's why I wanted to start a community called Northbound Approach. And that's because this is about a team of other leaders who can walk together, or with you, we can all walk together because we've been through it. And we can find encouragement and empowerment from each other and also build trust. And we're going to do that together. So I would encourage you to come join the community. I'll put the link down below in the description for this episode. But getting back to resilience, it builds credibility, and people follow leaders who don't fold under pressure. So when you don't fold under pressure, and after you have gone through the long miles, you don't just hike stronger, you lead stronger. You notice when others are struggling because you've been through it. If you've hiked down the trail and you've dealt with all of the hardships of being alone and being scared and cold and exhausted, and then you see somebody else that's exhausted and cold and struggling in those ways, you're going to notice more because you're going to see it. You're going to empathize with it. You're going to understand it because you've been there. In fact, that's one of the lessons from the Good Samaritan in the Bible, is that the Good Samaritan saw the man on the side of the road. And that word actually means that he felt in his guts what that other person was feeling. So the best leaders are the ones that feel what their people are going through. And it will help you know when to slow down and when to provide encouragement to others. And this is where leadership matures. Here are the takeaways. Resilience is not a personality trait. It's a product of discomfort. And leadership is formed when things are hard, not easy. Pain and setbacks are not signs to quit. They're signals to grow, to keep going. Being lonely is not always bad. It builds internal strength and conviction. And leaders who've walked hard miles lead with humility and courage. Comfort will only create managers. Adversity will create leaders. The trail doesn't make me comfortable. It just makes me more resilient. And leadership works in that same way. If you want to lead north, you have to be willing to walk through some uncomfortable places and then keep moving forward. Now, do you want to get on the trail? I am working to incorporate adventure trips into Northbound for you to sign up for. I want you to leave a comment in this episode. What adventure have you always wanted to do? All right. Thanks, everybody. You just listened to another episode from the Northbound Podcast. Thank you for tuning in today. I hope you were encouraged and empowered in leadership. Go lead boldly and humbly. And remember our vision. Elevate your team through Christ-centered leadership. If you want to be a part of our community, just go to go-northbound.com and follow the link and come join us. Follow along with courses and live streams and chats, and maybe even join us for an adventure. We'd love to have you. All of those links are in the description below. Thank you again for tuning in. It's been a pleasure. See ya.
We interrupt this program to bring you an important Wayfair message. Wayfair's got style tips for every home. This is Styles McKenzie helping you make those rooms sing. Today's style tip: when it comes to making a statement, treat bold patterns like neutrals. Go wild, like an untamed animal print area rug under a rustic farmhouse table from Wayfair.com. Fierce. This has been your Wayfair style tip to keep those interiors superior.
Wayfair, every style, every home.